So not yesterday, but Monday, we made greens. Greens are Betty's favorite vegetable. My mother's favorite greens are turnips and mustards mixed. And so what we do is we do a predominant mixed green with her favorites. Plus we add in spinach, collards, and arugula, etc. Because all of the greens are high in potassium. Who knew? I mean, when you think about potassium, you think about bananas. But no, everybody, greens are very high in potassium and very important to include in your diet on a regular basis. So our process includes cooking a big pot of greens. We had 2 pots going on Monday. We had Braun running to the grocery store to get everything in stock. So a shout out going out to grandson for his part in going back and forth to the grocery store. And Shawn was in here loading everything up into the pots. So beginning yesterday, we took the greens and we cupcaked them into cupcakes, as you see here. And so now we are going to bag the cupcakes. So our process is to quickly run the hot water over the cupcakes. Very briefly, because if you run hot water over the cupcakes for too long, then the backside of them becomes too juicy. And you don't want juicy greens going into your bags. You want your bags to stay nice and neat. And then I'm using a pokey knife to insert and lift like so. And then I'm going to take them over to Carolyn, who is assisting today. And she is going to put them in the bag, 6 to a bag. Yep. And we're going to roll it down. And then we're going to place the unit into a jumbo bag. And we're going to keep moving along like so. So Team Betty on the second rung. First rung had grandchildren for Shawn and Braun. Second rung, they have gone off to college. And so now me and Carolyn are teaming up to get the product bagged. And I tell you another thing that's super cool. So I didn't have enough cupcakes, pans for this. We'll go out to the garage to grab more. And so, because I didn't have enough cupcake pans, I started texting my neighbors, and I went out the door because we're in the summertime. It's August. So I went out the door and to see who I could see out in their yards, to see who was home, to see who had cupcake pans that I could borrow. And so I found a lot of my neighbors who had cupcake pans, and I brought them home. And those who didn't have their pans labeled, because some people did have their pans already with their names on them, but for those who didn't, what I did was I brought them in and I labeled the pans with their names and with how many pans that I had borrowed from them, so that I could make certain to get their pans back to them. And so that's another cool feature of taking care of Miss Betty, is that it causes you to bond over these big projects. So I had fun stepping out the door. Even those that I texted, I still had to go to their houses to get the pans. And so it gave us a reason to talk, and I told them about the project that I had going. And so anyway, it builds a community of support a community of knowledge that we exist, shares with people what we're doing, etc. And so it's a lot of fun. It's like being in a big old race trying to get things done. So we're going to put these back over in the sink. I'll share with you some of the ingredients in the greens while I'm taking these out as well. We don't put any meat in our greens because most of the meats have a bunch of chemicals in them. And so what we do is we use, where are my greens here? So we've got, yep, turnip greens, mustard greens, spinach greens, and arugula greens. And this time I even put beet tops in there. And sometimes I like to put turnip bottoms in, but I didn't have a chance to do that this time. But anyway, additional ingredients include onions and bacon drippings, butter, iodized sea salt, pink Himalayan salt, fresh garlic, habanero peppers. Okay, you got that one. And anchovy paste is a unique ingredient that we put in our greens. Anchovy paste, I got that idea from the Rachel Ray show. She uses it in her deviled eggs. And so I started using it in my deviled eggs, and I really liked it. And so, and I find that it gives you a little extra perk too. It's an energizer, and it's a sea product. You know, anchovies are small fish. And so, of course, they vegetate on sea vegetables. And whenever animals eat on sea vegetables, then they're always getting a good source of iodine. So iodine gets into the flesh of the fish, such as the anchovy. And so then when we consume and use anchovy paste, then we're getting the benefit of that iodine. The other thing that we use is wasabi. Wasabi is a root vegetable, and it gives the greens a nice kick. Thank you. Got it. We got it. It's zipping. There we go. So we got our big jumbo bag, and we're going to deliver this bag back out to the freezer. Again, we want our cupcakes to be nice and neat. We don't want them to be slippery because we want our bags to remain nice and neat, so that when we go to serve them, we're taking out one cupcake at a time. And then we're placing them in the freezer. And you see how we have all these green cupcakes in here? Pretty awesome. This is how we make certain that Betty receives one serving of greens every single day. Her favorite vegetable. She was passionate about greens. And we also started adding black eyed peas into the greens because legumes are such an important food category, and I wanted to be certain that we got in a variety of legumes into her diet. And so the last batch of greens that we made, we put black eyed peas in them, and she really enjoyed that. And so we did that again this time. You know, legumes are a resistant starch and thereby help to control blood sugar response. They also add fiber to the diet. And we want to make sure that we're doing things that help to keep Betty going to the bathroom. She deals with constipation, and so one of the ways that we keep her regular is to be attentive to high potassium foods and high fiber foods, And we control her blood sugar by paying attention to including foods and supplements that assist the body with blood sugar regulation. And iodine does that as well. Iodine helps the body's blood sugar response. And another good thing about potassium is it helps to control sugar cravings. You know, a lot of us crave sugar, and I used to be one of those people. But I tell you, if you consume enough high potassium foods and enough fat, so about fat consumption and authentic fat. So in other words, you want to stay away from like milk substitutes, you know, the creamers and whatnot in your coffee. Don't do that. Use heavy whipping cream. Stick with the real deal. Just like with the bacon drippings and the butter in the greens. You know, always use butter. Don't buy margarine. Don't buy any fat substitutes. Use the real deal. The body recognizes the real food, and fat does not make you fat. What makes you fat is flour. For most people, the body does not do well with flour. And so if you're concerned about weight, if you're not pleased with your weight, one of the things you want to do is get the flour out of your diet. And eat vegetables and proteins and vegetables. So lifting again. You see how nice and neat that is? It's not wet. It's still very frozen. It's perfect. So what else do we put in there? Citric acid. I like a little tart flavor, and so citric acid is in there. Black pepper. We used to use liquid smoke, but I find that the smoke flavor, I did a side-by-side test one day. We had a pot going, and I said, you know what, I want to see. I took a small amount and I put it in another pot, and then I added the smoke flavoring to it so that I could test which pot did we like the best. And we figured out that the smoke flavor actually covered up that nice fresh flavor from the actual greens. So we discovered that we liked the pot that didn't have smoke flavor the best. And people always associate green making with using smoked meats. But I challenge you, when you make your next pot of greens, don't put any smoke flavoring, no smoked meat in there. And then take a small amount out, put your smoke flavor in it, and then do your own taste test and see which flavor you like the best. Because greens are absolutely delicious. And I love the training that having mom here at the house has provided for our kids. Braun helps to feed her foods. He helps to take her on her walks. And he goes grocery shopping to get many of the things that we need. For Shawn, now that she's in school, she helps with grocery shopping online for things that we get online. I shoot her a text whenever I need something that we can't find in town, and then she will get it ordered, and next thing I know, it's coming to my door. And so she stays involved from school as well. And it's awesome. as far as keeping everybody busy and keeping everybody moving. Taking care of grandma has done that in a million ways, and it's been so frustrating in a million ways as well. And when Vivica was on television and she was basically soliciting for people to call and share their stories of conflict, basically she said, I don't know, are you having relationship issues, or
I need to close the tape.
You need the tape. Okay. She said, do you have relationship issues, or do you have a problem that's simply over your head? And when she said, do you have a problem that's simply over your head, I was like, that's me. That's me. And so she gave a phone number, and so I started calling that number and basically just pouring out my frustrations with respect to this whole dementia thing and how overwhelming it is and how it affects women so much. I mean, it affects us directly because we develop the condition more. Impacts women economically as well, because you can't make money somewhere else. If you can't earn your living taking care of your loved one, then you're economically impacted. I mean, and in the case with me, for example, I've been the only caregiver that has been solidly with mom for the past 8 years. Everybody else, they come and they go, they come and they go. But, you know, so far, I haven't been able to find a way to earn my living taking care of her. And that impacts me as a woman. And so it's very important for women to be aware, people in general. I mean, there are a lot of men who care about this issue as well. But let's face it, there's more women who care about women. And so it's very important to know why you should be active in the fight against dementia before you're impacted by it, before it ever happens to you. Because let me tell you, when it happens to you, you're so tied down with it that you're not able to participate in the fights. You might not be able to get to the Alzheimer's marches if you're the one that's caring for the person with dementia. Or if you yourself are suffering with dementia, you can't go to the Alzheimer's walk then. So it's so important to understand that this is a looming threat to all of us. And it can just affect you and your family in a million different ways. So I'm asking you to get in this fight, to stay in this fight, before you become a victim of it. Support the research. Learn the things that I'm teaching about the ways to eat and to the beverages to consume in order to take good care of your body. Because in America, what we want to realize is that we want to realize what's missing from our diet. Like people say all the time, it's the food, it's the food, it's what we're eating. And in part, that is correct. But you know what? It's also what we're not eating. And what we're not eating enough of is greens. We do not eat enough greens. We do not eat enough beans. These things are superfoods. We don't eat enough squash. We don't eat enough foods that we have to cook ourselves. And we don't eat enough seaweed. We don't eat enough fish. And recognize that the fish, the flesh of the fish has iodine in it because the fish eat the sea vegetation. And the sea vegetation, their consumption of that transfers iodine into their flesh. And so that's why we get iodine from eating fish. And iodine is very important to our brain health. And so one of the reasons that so much dementia is developing, I'm I would speculate is that we don't get, our diets are not rich enough in iodine, and consistently over time. For example, the Japanese, they consume a lot of iodine rich seaweed and fish, and we don't. And so the knowledge of this can help you to make good food consumption choices. So I'm passionate about this subject because, you know what, dementia is a monster, and I would like to see the rate of the development of dementia going down with dementia. And so I am on a mission for sure to share with everyone the practices that I use to support Mom's body, because she has withstood the dementia assault really well. I mean, I just can't say how many people, you know, have developed the dementia after Mom, and so many of them, you know, have passed away, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that their loved ones don't know how to feed them. You know, when the person first starts to develop the dementia, I mean, they themselves, they don't know what to do, you know, other than go to the doctor and get on the prescribed medications. But other than that, they don't change their food consumption, and so they don't, you know, so they're doing the same things. And you know, the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same things and expect different results. And that's what most people do. They continue to do the same things, and they hope and they pray for different results, and that's just not effective. And so I am sharing the things that we do to help people to become more knowledgeable, because knowledge is power, and especially when you use the knowledge to make changes. And Betty gets greens every single day. She gets legumes every single day. She gets black eyed peas, she gets pinto beans every single day. She also gets avocado every day. And these are high potassium foods. High potassium foods. We need 4,700 milligrams of potassium every day. And bananas only give us 300 milligrams of potassium. And most people think that if they eat a banana every day, that they're getting all the potassium that they need. And that just simply is not true. And so the knowledge, you know, I recommend that everybody Google high potassium foods, and then use that list to decide upon a consumption routine. Because it's not hard to eat avocados every day. It's not hard to eat greens every day. It's not hard to eat beans every day. Because all of these things can be prepared in different ways, and some of them are so delicious. I mean, you can use avocado with breakfast, with eggs. You can use it with salad. Every time you order a salad at a restaurant, make sure you order a side of avocado with it. At dinner time. I mean, it's such an easy side to include in your diet. And the fat in it, the potassium in it, is the fiber in it is just amazing. And putting lemon and lime juice on it, sprinkling it with pink Himalayan salt, pepper. I mean, it's delicious. It's not a hard thing to do. But if you don't know to do it, then of course you won't do it. You can't do it. So these are important practices. Now, what am I over here looking for? I'm looking for, so again, a lot of camaraderie is created around making these big pots of food and around taking care of your loved one. You know, a lot of it can become, it can become fun in many ways, and it can be the great connector in many ways. I mean, like I say, I have connected more with my neighbors in the time of need, in the sickness and passing of my husband, and in the care needs of my mom. I actually, when I was working outside of the home for the health department, I used to work for the Ingham County Health Department, and I used to coordinate their peer education program. I did that for 11 years. And during that time, we had lots of different meetings. And one of the things that would, surface is the list. Your friends, your family, your neighbors would always be spoken about as the community of support. And I always thought to myself, I don't really know my neighbors. And I always said to myself that if I ever became a stay-at-home mom, I said one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to canvass my neighborhood, and I'm going to start a monthly meeting group with my neighbors to get to know them. So as fate would have it, my life pattern went in that direction. I became a stay-at-home mom, and I followed through on what I had always said that I would do, and I canvassed my neighborhood to try to pull my neighbors together to actually get to know my neighbors. And so I did that. I made flyers and I put them on everybody's door, and I started having monthly meetings at everybody's house. So I started it off at my house, and then at the conclusion of the meeting, everybody signed up for what month they would host the meeting at their house. And so that went on for years and years and years and years, and I found that to be a great resource as well. When I needed to take care of mom, when I need cupcake pans, I now know my neighbors. And when I needed, like Diane Kaufman came over to help do housekeeping and to help follow some of the recipes that needed to be made for mom, etc. And so anyway, taken care of mom has caused me to build a community. I was out walking mom, she gets the daily walks. We walk through the neighborhood, and there was this young mom that I'd always see out with her kids, and she was always so friendly and sweet. And so one day I asked her, would she be interested in either volunteering or coming to work for pay to help mom, to help me with all of the various things that go on for taking care of Betty. And so anyway, she got back with me, and she now comes twice a week. She started by doing one day a week, and then she went up to twice a week, and she's a very valuable team member. And her daughter has constipation as well, and so the things that she has learned from being in this environment have helped her to address her daughter's constipation effectively, because you go to the doctor's office, and of course the remedy is always a chemical remedy. It's either Miralax or it's take X-Lax or something over the counter. It's never eat more greens or include flax seeds in your diet. It's always something chemical based. And these types of remedies, the health report card here in America, it's not good, guys. We are, take a look around when you're at the grocery store or any public environment. We are overweight and we don't feel good. We're sick. And a lot of it has to do with what we are consuming, which is a bunch of chemicals. Look at all the cakes. When you take a cake, when you go into any grocery store and you pick up a bakery cake, just read the ingredients. And nowadays, just about every gathering that you have, at church, at school, at home, That's what we're eating. A bunch of chemicals. It's no longer eggs and butter and vanilla flavoring and sugar. It's a bunch of chemical names on the product listing of ingredients, and we're consuming that every day, and we're feeding that to our children every day. And it is compromising our health, but it's doing it so slowly. It's like smoking. It doesn't kill you instantly. It kills you slowly. It kills your health status very slowly over time. And that's what we've got to get through our heads, that we've got to get back to basics. We've got to cook. We've got to cook, and we've got to read ingredient labels so that things are, you know, a cake should be simple. So I just say that as an example because I'm really not into eating cake because we don't do flour. We do dark chocolate for our dessert, and we have a nice coffee that we drink for our dessert with heavy whipping cream in it, and those kinds of things are satiating. But anyway, it's just a good example of the eating that is killing us. Anyway, our green project has concluded. Carolyn has put away all of the cupcakes. Everything is in the freezer. And shout out to greens. High in potassium, high in fiber, high in chlorophyll. And we also had the black eyed peas in there. So we've got legumes, we've got resistant starch, and everything in there is clean. Butter, bacon drippings, salt, wasabi paste, all that good stuff. So remember, if you like this video, like it, share it, and subscribe to our channel. And visit our fantastic merch store as well, located in the description. It's amazing. And go to GoFundMe. It takes funds to do everything, guys. So help us out. Put your name on that list and donate at least $1 today. Thank you so much. Bye.